Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to day one of Born to Win. I am so excited to be here with you today. We have a jam-packed day, so we're going to get right into it. If you're unaware of whose live you showed up on, whose masterclass you showed up in, my name is Shani Leatham. I'm a transformation specialist and a wealth identity mentor out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And it is my honor and my privilege to be able to teach you over these next couple days how to win, how to become the person who wins. So you are truly here because this is a lesson that I know that I needed when I was going through my own transformation. And so this lesson has the potential to change the way you see yourself forever, if you allow that so. So before we begin, I always run my masterclasses the same way. I always like to begin with a prayer. So I think it is so important for us to start off our time together with gratitude, with openness, and with reverence. So if you will, dear God, thank you so much for letting us be together today. I thank you so much for the opportunity to teach, guide, and train all of these people who are sitting with us to learn how to deeply dive into themselves, Lord. So I ask you to speak through my vocal cords and think through my mind. It's none of me and all of you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, so we are born to win. Did you know that you were born to win? Did you know that you were actually born to win? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You were actually born to win. This is a real thing. And sometimes when people hear things like that, they're like, okay, girl, what you talking about? Okay, girl, what you talking about? But you were born to win. So let me explain how this masterclass is going to go. We will be together with each other over the next 2 days for about an hour and a half each day, okay? I'm going to talk to you about what it means to be a winner, all right? I'm going to talk about the internal faculties that are required for you to become one, for you to be one, for you to live as one. It's about recognizing the winner in you. That person's there. We just gotta pull her out, pull him in, okay? So we're gonna recognize that winner in you, even if it's laying dormant. That's what we're gonna do. And on day 2, we're gonna learn all of the hows. We're gonna learn all of the hows of becoming a winner. So it's very important that we go through these steps that you learned today. We're gonna learn the internal faculties, and tomorrow we're gonna learn the how, the actual doing of it, okay? So tomorrow we're gonna be installing the neural pathways. So that's rewiring and retraining your brain for winning, for success, for progress. We're gonna be doing that. And we're gonna talk about the embodying traits that you need so that you can win. So that if an obstacle presents itself to you, you can figure out how to beat that obstacle, get past that obstacle, and just go and just win, okay? Over and over and over again. And then tomorrow, I will also let you in on my amazing transformation program, Unlimited. It's a full service coaching program that we run through the Breakthrough Academy, which is our online, unconventional education company that just has been helping so many people transform their lives from where they are to where they want to be. And the results are incredible. So I'm going to be talking to you about that as well tomorrow. If you have any questions, I urge you to write them down and please send me a DM, or you can ask your questions at the end of the masterclass. But I really love to stay focused. So unless I ask a question, just kind of reserve them for later. I do want to get to them, but I do want to be respectful of your time, okay? So are we ready? Are we ready? Okay, I want to begin with the question. What if the reason you haven't created everything you want in your life isn't because you're missing something? What if you're not lacking confidence? What if you're not lacking discipline? What if you're not lacking the intelligence that you think you're lacking? Or the wisdom that you think you're lacking? What if you're not lacking those, or the talents, or the gifts, or potential? What if the issue is you're not broken? After all this time, you might have think there was something missing or something broken. What if that's not the issue? What if the issue is you've spent years believing a story about yourself that was never true? I want you to think about that for a moment. Just for a moment, because so many people are walking around carrying identities they never consciously chose. They didn't pick them. It wasn't for them. They're just living this way. They've accepted labels. They've accepted limitations. They've accepted opinions and experiences. And over time, they began building a life around those things. They began building a life around those things. So a disappointing relationship became proof that they weren't lovable. Or a failed business became proof that they weren't cut out for success. Or maybe even a financial struggle became proof that wealth wasn't available to them long term or available to them at all. Rejection became proof that they weren't enough. And little by little, they began collecting evidence. Just putting it in their bag. Some evidence. Yep, this is proof. This is proof. This is more proof. Collecting evidence for a version of themselves that was never the truth. So the truth is, nobody enters this world believing that they're destined to fail. Not one person. No one you know. Nobody enters this world believing they're not enough. Nobody enters this world believing life is supposed to be a constant struggle. You might believe that now, but we didn't start that way. Nobody believed that. Those beliefs are learned. Those beliefs are inherited. Those beliefs are practiced until they feel familiar within us. But familiar and true, they're not necessarily the same things, okay? Familiar and true are not necessarily the same thing. So a few weeks ago, I heard the song playing. I don't know if it was like on my YouTube or shuffle or something. And it's an old song. I hadn't heard in forever. And I was listening to it. And you know when you've heard something before, but the next time you hear it or the next time you see something jumps out at you so that you missed the first time? Well, I was listening to the song and it stopped me in my tracks. And it had this one particular line. It said, "Everything attached to me wins." Everything attached to me wins. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah. Everything attached to me wins. And I thought, imagine everyone believing that. Imagine carrying yourself through life, believing the opportunities are looking for you. Imagine that. Imagine yourself carrying yourself through life with that level of certainty, being so sure. Imagine believing that success belongs to you. It does, by the way. Imagine that favor follows you. It does, by the way, especially if you believe. Imagine that believing the people connected to you become stronger. They become stronger because of your presence. And then I realized something. Most people will hear something like that and they're going to immediately think it's arrogance because, well, what do you mean everything attached to me wins? I walk around. When I heard that song again, I started saying it over and over again. And I tell people, everything attached to me wins. And imagine they're going to look at you like I'm being arrogant. But a winner doesn't hear that. A winner hears everything attached to me wins and they think identity. They don't think that's arrogance. Because winners don't spend their lives questioning whether they're worthy of success. They don't do that. They spend their lives becoming the person who can receive success. And then another song came to mind since I was on the track of winning, right? You know, like there's so many. You've got All I Do Is Win. You've got that one. But I love the lyrics of this one particular song. Again, a very, old enough song. I want to say maybe between 5 and 10 years old, okay? By a singer that I love. Her name is Elaine. She's a singer out of Jamaica. And the lyrics say, "If I believe I can, I will. No holding back, no giving in. Because I was born to win." And that's where the idea for this masterclass came from. I was like, yeah, that's it. I was born to win. And I've been telling my clients this for years. You know you were born for success. You were born to be like nature. You were born to grow. All nature knows how to do is win. All nature knows how to do is succeed. And I'm like, wait a minute. Born to win. I was born to win. Bam. We're going to talk about that today. Okay? And so that's the difference. A champion isn't somebody who never experiences setbacks. A champion is someone who never allows those temporary setbacks or those temporary circumstances to define who they are. Okay? They understand something that most people forget, and that's winning is not an event. It's not. It's an identity. And that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today. I'm very excited about that. So we're going to be talking about the psychology of winners. We're going to be talking about the neuroscience of winners. Okay, so that's the brain, how the thoughts and the mind of a winner works. We're going to be talking about the awareness of winners. We're going to talk about the beliefs of winners. And we're going to talk about the energy of winners. These are all very important things that you need to employ if you want to live a life that feels more successful than not successful. Okay? So we're going to talk about why some people seem to win all the time. Why it seems like they're creating success over and over and over again while others are continuing to wait their turn. And most importantly, we're going to uncover something that I believe with my whole heart. And that is, you were never, not ever, designed to spend your life doubting yourself. Okay? You were never, not ever, designed to live beneath your potential. You were never, not ever, designed to constantly wonder if success is available to everyone but you. Just so you know, you were designed to create. You were designed to prosper. You were designed to grow. You were designed to overcome. You were designed to win. You were designed to win. And somewhere along the way, you might have forgotten that. But today is about remembering, okay? Because the moment you remember who you are, everything in your life changes. So let's get started. Are we ready? All right. So I'm starting with you were designed to win. I really want to talk a little bit further about that statement because some people think that they're designed to win sometimes, or maybe if they get lucky, or if the stars align, or when things finally become perfect, that's when I'll win, right? No. You were designed to win, period. That is your genetic makeup. That is your spiritual makeup. You were created to win. You were created in his image to win, and he is a winner, period. Okay? Now, I know there are people who are going to be listening to this now or on the replay, and they're immediately going to feel resistance to that statement. What do you mean I was designed to win? Oh, what is she talking about? All right? And that's normal. I understand. I understand that. Because the moment I say that, your mind starts presenting you with evidence that's, shows the opposite. Well, okay, fine. If I was designed to win, then why did my business fail? Huh, Shani? If you're so smart, then why am I struggling with money? Shani, tell me. If I was designed to win, then why haven't I manifested what I've been asking for? I've been doing all the things. What's going on? Huh, Shani? Why do I still doubt myself? Huh, Shani? Right? And those are all fair questions. Very, very, very fair. But here's what I want you to understand. Your current circumstances are not a reliable indicator of your success. And they're not a reliable indicator of your design. Just because a seed hasn't become a tree yet, go with me. Just because a seed hasn't become a tree yet doesn't mean it wasn't designed to win. That's the purpose. That is the point, okay? Just because a child hasn't learned how to walk yet doesn't mean that they weren't designed to learn. Just because a child hasn't learned how to read yet doesn't mean they weren't designed to learn how to learn, right? Just because you have experienced setbacks, and just putting that out there, we are human, so this will be our experience many times over our lives. Just because you've experienced setbacks doesn't mean you were not created for success. Like, who told you that? Why did you buy into that? It simply means that there's a difference between your design and your current conditioning. That's it. It's not this big whole magical thing. Your design and your conditioning are just a part. Okay? And so this difference is where a lot of people get stuck. A lot of people get stuck. You see, every one of you was born with enormous potential, myself included. We know this. Enormous potential. I've said many times over many masterclasses and workshops that I host. I was hosting a workshop the other day with 2,000 people on it, and we talked about this very thing, that we don't even scratch the surface of our potential. We maybe use about 20 to 25% of our potential. What would happen if we added another 5%? And then another 5%? Our brains cannot fathom what our lives would be like, and our health and our minds and everything about us would be like if we tapped into 100% of our potential. No one's done it. No one does it, right? But you were born with enormous potential. You weren't born believing you were incapable. No. You weren't born believing that you should play small. That was something that you learned. You weren't born thinking that you need to settle for less than what you desire. That was something that you learned. So where did that come from? Who taught you that? Who taught us that? Because that's just the way of the world. That is so common across the whole world. Okay? I want you to think about a 5-year-old child for a second. I was thinking about this. So think about a 5-year-old child for a second. That child doesn't wake up wondering if they're worthy. Not at 5, right? They don't spend hours questioning whether or not they are enough. Not at 5. They don't spend time just trying to be something that they're not, unless they're playing like cops and robbers and stuff like that, okay? They don't ask for permission to dream. They don't do that. They just dream. They don't shrink themselves to make other people comfortable. They don't analyze every mistake and turn it into a lifelong identity. They don't do that. You know what they do? They just be. They simply are. They're curious and creative and fearless, and they try and they fail and they try again. And then they continue until they figure it out. That's what a 5-year-old child does. Until somewhere along the journey, that natural confidence that they have, it begins to be replaced with conditioning. And it's not their fault. It's not even your fault, okay? We start hearing things at a very young age. We hear it from our teachers, we hear it from our parents, we hear it from grandparents, we hear it from the people who love us the most. We hear it from the people who have our best interests at heart. We hear it from the people who, you know when they say it takes a village? That village. The people that are closest to us. We hear things like, be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. Listen, life isn't fair. You can't always get what you want. You hear, and listen, I'm pretty certain that almost every household that does not have a wealth identity has said, money doesn't grow on trees. You know what I'm saying? Or people like us don't do things like that. People like us don't belong in rooms like that. Success is hard. We hear stuff like that. Rich people are different. Rich people are different. What are you talking about? People like us don't hang with people like them. I used to hear that in my own family. Right? Or now you're just asking for too much. Now you're just asking for too much. And here's what makes conditioning so powerful, because we were all conditioned. Okay? It doesn't always arrive as a limitation. It doesn't look like a condition. It arrives disguised as wisdom from an elder. It arrives disguised as protection from a loved one. Or it arrives disguised as practicality. Look, I'm just being practical. You need to be practical, right? And before you know it, you have accepted ideas that were never yours, not yours to begin with at all. And then you begin living inside of somebody else's beliefs. And you begin viewing life from somebody else's lens. And you begin lowering your own expectations to match that or those of the people around you. Okay? And then one day you're going to look around and you're going to wonder why life feels so much smaller than the vision you had inside of your heart. That happens to almost everyone at some point in their life. For certain people, that usually leads to that midlife crisis. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're cutting that off before the crisis arises. Okay? So your answer is simple. The design never changed. You were designed for winning. You were designed for success. You were designed for progress. You were designed for greatness. You were. Your conditioning just became louder. What do you think about that? Your conditioning just became louder. Okay? So, let's see. How are we doing today? As you guys are coming in, go ahead and tell me where you're watching from. I love hearing where we're from, what we're doing, how we are, what's going on. Go ahead and let me know where you're watching from, okay? So I have people on multiple platforms and we are hosting this here. So let's go. Let us go. Let me just make sure that this is even streaming where it needs to stream. You know what? No. Here we go. Now I want you to think about how many times you've done something difficult in your life. It's just going to be a lot, right? Because you know when they say you were made, you can do hard things. You can do hard things. So think about how many times you've done something difficult in your life and think about the challenges that you've already overcome. You have. Your worst day does not define you. You've gone through some shit and you're still here. Think about that. Think about the obstacles that you've survived. Think about the situations that once felt impossible. Impossible, but eventually it became a part of your testimony. Think about that. At one point, there were things you didn't know how to do, and now they're second nature. Like walking, like running. We used to know how to skip when we were younger, but there's this thing that's happening when as you get older, your body just starts to betray you. So we're not going to use skipping as an example, okay? At one point, there were circumstances you thought you couldn't make it through, you couldn't handle. And you know what? You successfully navigated through those circumstances. At one point, there were fears that controlled you, that no longer have power over you. And so, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? It tells you that growth is already in your nature. Growth and success and overcoming is already in your nature. It's not something that you had to install within. It's already a part of you. Expansion and adaptation is already in your nature. Success is already in your nature. The evidence is all around you. In fact, one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about winning is that winning only counts when it looks big and dramatic and like a miracle and you had to jump over hurdles and do all of this stuff to make it. Now I win. Right? But winning isn't always standing on stage. That's not it. It's not always receiving the award or hitting the 7 figures or 8 figures or whatever you want to scale to. It's not always that. It's not at all. Winning isn't always buying the dream house or driving the luxury car. You can finance those things, right? Sometimes winning looks like refusing to quit when quitting would have been easier. Sometimes winning looks like getting back up after disappointment. Sometimes it looks like choosing faith when fear is screaming and clawing and begging for your attention. Sometimes it looks like that. Sometimes winning looks completely different than, like a different person than the ones your circumstances predicted. That is winning. So if you have a preconceived notion or an idea of what you think winning looks like, we want to think again. Because winning comes in many different forms. And half of the time, we're not even acknowledging our wins. We only acknowledge the big things. We don't acknowledge the small things. Okay? So now let's take this one step further. There are a lot of you, okay, who have unknowingly tied winning to struggle. You didn't even know you did it. They believe that success has got to be difficult because people tell you all the time, hard work, then you win. They believe that achievement must come with exhaustion. They believe that prosperity must be earned through suffering because that's the only way it's worth it, right? They believe that they've accepted that the idea that life has to be hard is the only way for your success to be legitimate. They've accepted that. So many people believe that. When I have clients come to me and we have our one-on-one consult calls prior to them enrolling in my program Unlimited, and we talk about different things, and sometimes the idea of success comes up. They think that they're not doing enough, that they've got to do all of these grandiose things, again, make it miraculous in order for it to be legitimate. Then I got to tell them they're wrong and then show them exactly what they need to look at and the little things that make up success to make a broader version of success. It's just a whole thing, but I digress, okay? Where did that belief come from? Let's talk about that. Who decided that joy and success couldn't coexist? Who? Who decided that when, you know that statement, it's too good to be true? Why can't truth be good enough? Or why can't good be truth? Right? Who decided that abundance requires burnout? And just so you know, and I've told you this many times before, you don't create abundance. Abundance is already there. It's all around you. What you do is you create your limitations. You just have to recognize the abundance, okay? Who decided that struggle is the admission price for greatness? Like who? Who said that? Who said that? Who said that? The truth is that so many people have become so familiar with struggle that when something feels easy, they get suspicious. And that's where the too good to be true comes in. They're so suspicious about it. They become so comfortable with proving themselves all the time, with striving, with doing, that receiving feels uncomfortable. What do you mean you're just gonna give me that? I saw a very quick clip today as I was just mentally preparing myself for our masterclass. And it was this man, and he goes around and he blesses people financially. And he was in a Walmart possibly, and he was looking at their cart and he was saying, oh, you know, today is so-and-so day. Here's a couple $100 here. And they're just like, what? And they're saying no, when they need it. They need it so desperately. Receiving feels uncomfortable because they're so comfortable with proving themselves. And they didn't have to do anything but just be there, right place at the right time, to allow God to bless them through this man. And one of the things that he says that I love, when someone says, God bless you, he says he already has. So I'm accepting that moniker too. He already has. All right? People have spent so many years fighting for everything that they don't know how to allow things to just come towards them, how to just flow. You know, go with the flow. That's a struggle for a lot of people. But winners understand something different. A winner understands that effort and struggle are not the same thing. They're not. You can be committed without being exhausted. Did you know? You can be disciplined without suffering. Oh my gosh, please. You can build wealth without constantly feeling overwhelmed and overworked. You can. You can create extraordinary results without making yourself miserable in the process. Yeah, you can do all of that. And it's important because so many people are unconsciously rejecting success. They don't even know they're doing it. They don't even know they're doing it. They have been put in positions to win, to grow, to succeed, to elevate, to next level their lives, to quantum leap their results. And they're like, nah, I reject it. And they don't say I reject it. but their thoughts make them do other things, and then they reject it. And it's not because they don't want success. I don't know one person who doesn't want to be successful. Of course they want success. It's because they don't want the version of success that they've been taught to expect. The one that's hustling. You gotta hustle. You're gonna miss time with your family. It's gonna cost you more than you're willing to offer. It's gonna cost you your time and your peace and your patience. You've gotta be out of the house all the time. Like that version of success, I have to work so damn hard in order to see success. That's not what they want. They want success without the steps to success. So they reject it. I mean, who wants to feel burnout? Who wants to be under constant pressure? Not me. Like, who wants to experience endless sacrifice? Not me, not you, not for sure. Like, no one. That's not a thing that people aspire to live by. Not at all. So they keep themselves living small without even realizing it. They have no idea. But what if winning didn't require you to become someone else? And this is often what I talk about, becoming the person you need to be to live the life that you want to live. But in this case, what if that wasn't necessary? What if winning required you to be more of who you already are? What if? What if the life you're trying to create isn't something that you have to force? That would be great, wouldn't it? What if it's just something that you allow? What if it is just something that you allow? What if something isn't something that you have? What if success isn't something that you have to chase? Who wants to chase? I'm tired. Who wants to chase? Who? What if success is just responding to the identity that you're building? Because that's what we're really talking about here. You were not designed to spend your life convincing yourself that you were worthy. You were already worthy. You were not designed to spend your life proving your value, even though a lot of people believe that they need to do that, nor shrinking your dreams to fit your circumstances. You weren't designed to do that. You weren't made to do that at all. You were literally created to grow, to expand, to create, to prosper, to influence. You were designed to become, to flourish. Oh, I like that word, flourish. To flourish. And the reason I'm starting here is because everything else we're going to discuss over these next 2 days becomes easier when you stop asking, can I win? And you start asking, what would change in my life if I truly believed I was born to win? That's why we're starting here, okay? Now, here's another question that it should naturally flow from everything we talked about so far. If we were all designed to win, why do so many people spend so many years struggling? And that's a valid question, right? Why do some people seem to recognize opportunities everywhere while others, they don't? They feel like life just keeps passing them by, just keeps passing them by. And they're standing here waiting to be chosen, waiting to be seen. Why is that happening? Why do people continually create success while other people feel like they're pushing a boulder up a hill every day? Like, it's tough. What is up with that? And the answer is actually more simple than people realize. Most people are not experiencing life as it is. They're experiencing life through the lens of what they've been conditioned to believe. So you know that saying about rose-colored glasses? You're looking at the world and you've got your rose-colored glasses on and everything looks a certain way and whatever. And you're looking this and wow, look at that. And you're looking at this, and through those lenses, you have a particular view. But the moment you take those lenses off, everything that you've been seeing, everything that you've been perceiving is not what it's like at all. Right? Those glasses are what we've been conditioned to believe. But that's not life. So a lot of people are not living life as it is. And the fascinating part about that is that most people don't even realize they're wearing a lens. Come on. They think they're seeing reality. Like, I get it. My eyes, they work. The sky's blue, there are clouds. No, it's not, it's green and it's cloud-free. What do you mean? My perception is my reality, right? But they're actually seeing their programming. We are all seeing our programming. So let me show you what I mean here, okay? There is this painting, and it's been all over social media. It's kind of like had people going up in a tizzy because it's kind of like a brain teaser. It's this photo, a painting of an elderly woman. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. But there's this, it looks like an elderly woman anyway. Like the wrinkles are obvious and her expression is very, very serious. She looks like a nonna, she looks like a grandmother, like an elderly woman, okay? Now, you could study this painting and immediately recognize that that's an old woman. Like, your eyes work. That's an old woman. I see her. She got the wrinkles and all the stuff. She got the old woman weathered look. She's beautiful, but she looks like she's lived, right? But then someone points out that hidden within that same painting is a young woman. And then you're like, what? Where? Where? And then suddenly you see her. Suddenly you see her jawline, and you see her neck, and you see the hat that she's wearing, and you see the softer features. And now you can't unsee it. You're like, oh, she's been there this whole time? And what's fascinating is that painting never changed. The young woman was always there. The old woman's there too, but the young woman was always there. She just didn't suddenly appear. The old woman didn't disappear either. But the viewer's perception changed. Like, I encourage you to go look for that painting and just look. Now you're gonna know that there's two people there, but just go and look. It's a thing, it messes with your brain, right? It's what are you paying attention to? The viewer's perception changed. And once their perception changed, they were able to access something that had been available all the time. It's been available the exact entire time, the whole time. And life works exactly the same way. The same way. Now, let's talk about what's happening inside your brain, just for a second. I love talking neuroscience. I have been studying this for a long time. I'm going to go into it a little bit here, but I'm going to do a lot more on neuroscience tomorrow. Tomorrow? Maybe later on today. We'll see if time allows it, okay? Your brain is processing millions of pieces of information every second. That's a lot. That is a lot. It's processing millions of pieces of information, bits and pieces, every second. So it's sounds and faces and conversations and colors and movements, things that you see in the back, and opportunities and patterns and memories and ideas. It's processing all of that, millions of those things in a matter of seconds. But your conscious mind can only handle a tiny fraction of that information, right? If your brain tried to process all of that, if it tried to process everything equally all at once, you would be completely overwhelmed within minutes. You'd just be like, make it stop. Make it stop. This is when they think that we're crazy, but we'd be overwhelmed by all of that stuff. But your brain has this incredible filtering system, right? It decides what deserves your attention. Isn't that crazy? It decides what deserves your attention and what can stay in the background. So if you think about it this way, if I asked you right now to think about the color of the shirt that you wore 3 days ago, like even if I were to ask myself, think of, Shani, what shirt did you wear 3 days ago? I have no idea. No clue. You might not remember. You might, but for the most part, you might not remember that, right? But if I asked you where your child was during a busy event that you went to, you'd probably know immediately. Immediately, wouldn't you? Why? Because your brain highlights what it believes matters to you. Isn't that interesting? Oh, I love this stuff. Your brain highlights what it believes matters to you. It's constantly sorting through information, sorting through information, and it's asking one particular question, and that is, what should I pay attention to? What should I pay attention to? And so here's where it gets really interesting, okay? Your beliefs help answer that question. Go with me here. Your expectations help answer that question. Wait, there's more. Your identity, that's who you believe you are, helps answer that question. And so your brain starts highlighting evidence that matches what you already believe is true. It's so good. Have you ever decided that you wanted, well, we're all adults here, okay? So you wanted to, like, a particular car, a particular vehicle. Like, I'm sure at some point everyone has seen a vehicle and you're like, oh, that's my dream car. I would love to have that, right? And then all of a sudden you start seeing it everywhere. Every time you're on the road, there's that car. There's that car. There's that car. You know, once upon a time for me, it was a particular Range Rover. I was like, yeah. And I mean, people were driving Range Rovers a lot back in the day, not as much now because of gas and tank sizes, but I was thinking about Range Rovers again, and all I kept seeing is Range Rover, Range Rover, Range Rover, Range Rover. For months, you notice it, right? You think about that car. For months, you notice the car, and then one day, it seems like everyone has that particular car. Everyone is driving the Range Rover. Like, what's going on? Everyone. Now, the one that I was thinking about, it's very, very, the color is very uncommon. The color is like my skin tone. It was gorgeous. Oh, gorgeous. And I didn't see that, but I saw the car. Okay? So it's not that the car took over the city. It's just that your awareness changed. My awareness changed. And I knew that. I knew that. So your brain promoted it from background information to important information. That's why you see it all the time. It's prioritizing it. And so this is exactly what happens with opportunities. And it's exactly what happens with wealth and success. And so, you know how I love to do a side-by-side comparison, right? If you've been around my teaching, you know I love to do a side-by-side comparison so you can get it. I like to make the point. And we're going to have a lot of side-by-side comparisons today. So let's take two people, okay? And these two people are both having financial challenges. That's not uncommon, right? I'm going to call one Kara because I like the name Kara. So Kara, she looks at her account. She looks at her banking app and she says, I don't know how people are getting ahead right now. Like, I'm doing everything. I have no idea. Every time I get paid, something comes up. Every time. Like, I think that I'm going to have money, and then something happens. There's always an emergency. Like, groceries cost more, bills are just costing more, everything. And I barely have anything left over at the end of the month. Hell, let alone at the end of the week. Right? Now, that's a very real concern. Very real concern, especially in this very economy that we're living in. And I know a lot of you can relate to that, but because that's her dominant story, Kara's brain starts highlighting more evidence that supports exactly that. And so every unexpected expense confirms it. There's always going to be an unexpected expense. Every bill confirms it. Every price increase confirms it. Every setback strengthens the story. Now, in comparison, there's Jay, okay? Jay sees the exact same numbers in his account, okay? He sees the same rising costs. He sees the same challenges, but his internal dialogue, so what he says to himself, it sounds a little bit different. He says, okay, this is my circumstance, but this is not where I want to stay. This is what it is right now, okay? There has to be another way for me to increase my money. There has to be another way for me to make more money or to increase my income. There just has to be. There's got to be a skill that I can learn. something I could sell, a problem I could solve, maybe a connection I haven't made yet. Like, I don't have the answer yet. This I know to be true, but I know the answer is there. I know the answer is there. Do you hear the difference? Can you hear the difference? I like to do these comparisons. Can you hear and feel the difference? Because Jason isn't ignoring reality. Jay's not ignoring reality. He's just remaining open to possibilities, available to possibilities. And because he's available to possibility, his brain starts searching for solutions. Do you get it? So all of a sudden there's a podcast recommendation that catches his attention that probably has always been there. He just never noticed it before. Or a business idea suddenly feels worth exploring. Like, I've got a talent for this. Let me turn this into something. Or a conversation maybe sparks an opportunity. You never know who you could talk to, who you could be talking to, where you are, in line in the grocery store. You never know. Or an introduction leads somewhere unexpected, right? His awareness begins noticing things that were already present, but previously invisible, okay? Previously invisible. And this is why awareness is one of the greatest advantages a winner can develop. One of the greatest advantages a winner can develop. Winners do not see a different world, okay? They've trained themselves to see more of what's available within that world. That is key. That is key. Do you know how many people spend years trying to change their circumstances while never, ever, ever examining the lens in which they're looking at life, looking at those circumstances? They just want to change the outside. Change the outside without changing the inside. But if the lens stays the same, then your experience most likely will stay the same. The thing that you're trying to escape, move on from, change, alter, will stay the same because you haven't changed. Okay? So the goal is not to blame yourself. It's not. The goal is to become aware, because awareness is where transformation begins, okay? And the moment you become aware of that lens, that particular lens, you gain the power to change it. And that's good. And that brings us to, I guess, the most important conversation of all. If your beliefs shape what you notice and your expectations influence what you experience, then who you believe yourself to be becomes one of the most important factors determining the life that you create. And that means that it's time to talk about identity. Yeah, it's time. You know, I love identity. I'm a wealth identity mentor. I'm in my bag right now. Now, before we go any further, okay, I want you to consider something. What if success has less to do with what you're doing and more to do with who you are being? You already know. But what if success has less to do with what you are doing and more to do with who you are being? I have a lot of business owners who follow me. And oftentimes they're, Shani, what kind of strategy can I employ? And of course we can talk strategy, but it doesn't matter if I tell you step A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you're not the right person doing those things, if you are not in the right head frame, if you are not looking through life with proper awareness, it doesn't matter. You're always going to be hesitating. You're always going to be held back. I have a lot of business owners that I work with also within Unlimited, and we go through this. They finally get it, okay? Most people are spending their lives focusing on actions, right? They're constantly, again, looking for that next strategy or the next course or the next technique or another piece of information. They're looking for something, and they're asking questions like, what should I do? What should I say? What should I post? And they're like a little chipmunk, just going, trying to figure it out. And they have their best interests at heart. Like, it's not something that is fruitless, okay? They mean well. They want to do well so badly. So what can I do? They're focused on their actions. Do I need a morning routine? Do I need a morning routine? Well, what should it look like? What should it look like? And while those things have their place, there's another question that should be asked, but hardly ever gets asked. And I want you to ask yourself, who is the person who's performing those actions? That's the better question. That's the more important question. Who am I being while I am doing these things? That's what you have to ask yourself. Because strategy isn't always the difference. Your identity is. Every time. Who you believe you are directly correlates with how much money you make. Who you believe you are, so your identity, your self-concept, directly correlates with the type of relationships you have, the kind of home you live in, your health, but specifically your wealth and your success. Who you believe you are directly impacts those results. So if you are not receiving the amount of wealth or the amount of success or the number of wins that you believe you should be receiving, experiencing, then we've got to examine your identity. Do you have an identity of a winner? Or do you have an identity of a person who perhaps struggles a bit? Of a person who perhaps has to work a little extra harder just to get something. You know what they say? We got to work twice as hard to get half as much. What a conditioning. What a conditioning that we've lived by and lived our lives being controlled by for years. For years. Okay? So, I know this girl. Well, a woman. Let's call her Danielle. We're going to call her Danielle. Okay? And Danielle's been talking about starting a coaching business for 3 years. For 3 years. And I've been in this coaching space for quite a while. She's been talking about it for 3 years, okay? She has certifications. She has knowledge. She has a ton of experience. Like, by all intents and purposes, she could be running a very thriving, successful business right now. Profitable. Turning 6 and 7 figures a year. Easily. Okay? And people are always telling her how amazing she would be. Like, I think she would be great. Fantastic. Yet every time she gets close to putting herself out there, she slows down a bit. She hesitates. She pauses. She thinks of something that needs to be done. Something is not perfect. She's a perfectionist, right? All of a sudden, her website needs to be redone. What do you mean? What do you mean your website needs to be done? You need people. You need to talk to people. You don't even need a website. I don't have my own website. And I've been running my business for years, successfully, might I add. It's a cop-out. You know what she does? She changes her offers. So she put together an offer, and she keeps changing it. I need to add this. I need to take this away. I need to scale this. She keeps tweaking her branding. How can you tweak your branding? And your branding is what people believe about you, right? Like, essentially, that's the purpose of it. But nobody gets to see anything because she keeps hesitating. And she keeps watching training after training after training. And she starts researching other platforms. Maybe I should host my stuff on here, right? And then those months turn to years. 3 years. 3 years she's been ruminating with this idea and has not started yet. Now, from the outside, she looks like she has a business problem, wouldn't you say? But she doesn't. She has an identity conflict. That's it. So part of her wants success. Of course, she wants success, but another part of her still sees herself as someone who's trying to prove that she's qualified. She's qualified. She keeps going for certifications, and after certification, after certification. We live in a time where none of that matters. Unless you're a doctor or a CPA, you're handling people's money, none of that matters. And the things that she wants to coach in, it doesn't require all of those things, any of those things. But it was to make herself feel better, to make her feel like she was on the right path, to get another qualification, get another qualification. She would be studying. She could probably study to the end of her life and then say, I'm ready. Right? So many people do that. So many people do that. And as long as those identities are competing with each other, she's going to continue circling the same destination that she wants to go around, okay? Now compare that to somebody who's already decided at a deep level that I'm someone who creates value. I create value. Like I know I'm someone who creates value. Notice I didn't say someone who knows everything, right? Because I often believe that, and I often say that know-it-alls often know nothing at all. Not a person who knows everything, or somebody who's perfect and they've got it going on, or they never get nervous, okay? Just someone who's decided that they have value to offer. I know that's you right now. If you're watching this, you have value to offer. That person shows up differently. They don't speak the same way as everyone. They speak differently. They make different decisions. They make expansive decisions, okay? They make decisions based on the results that they want to get, not where they are right now. They recover from obstacles differently. They don't crumble. They don't let life beat them down. They don't spend 3 weeks questioning their worth because one person said no. They don't do that. And why do you think that is? Because their identity is not hanging on by a thread. Oh, their identity is so solid and sturdy. And so this is one of the biggest misconceptions about winners, right? People assume that winners possess some type of special confidence. They got that special confidence that other people don't have. No, they train themselves to win, right? They've trained themselves to win. When you study successful people, you discover something really, really interesting. And it's that they still experience doubt like everyone else. They still experience fear and they still experience uncertainty just like everyone else. But the difference is that they don't build their identity around those experiences. They don't say, well, I'm scared. I feel afraid. So that's gotta mean that I'm not capable. Yep, that's what that means. They don't do that. They don't say, I'm not too sure, so maybe I should just stop. You know what? I'm just gonna pump the brakes. I don't know, so I'm just gonna not go for it at all. I don't know if I can win, so I'm not gonna go and try. They don't do that. They don't do that at all. They understand that the emotions that they're feeling in these moments, they're just temporary visitors. Emotions are temporary visitors. And they understand something even more. They understand that identity is something different. Okay, I'm going to compare something again. Okay, so 2 women, they're invited to speak on a stage of 500 people. And I'm giving this example because that's what I do. I go and I speak and I teach and I train. And so the night before the event, we've got these 2 women. Both women naturally feel a little bit nervous. It's normal. Like I'm going on stage, 500 people at least. And I'm going to talk about this. They've practiced, they've done all the stuff. They have butterflies, both of them together, and they're wondering how it's going to go. Like they're picturing themselves, right? And so the first person interprets those butterflies and that nervousness as proof that she's not ready. Oh gosh, what did I get myself into? And so she spends the night worrying and second guessing herself and kind of freaking out. And she's questioning herself, right? And that other woman, she feels the exact sensations that butterflies and the nervousness, but it's excitement for her, right? It's excitement for her. She interprets them differently. And she kind of like smiles to herself and she's like, all right, yeah, I get it. I'm nervous because this is important to me. This matters to me. That's why I feel like this. So one woman treats her nervousness as a stop sign and the other one treats her nervousness as just part of the experience. So the feeling was never the problem. The feelings that they were experiencing were never the problem. It's the meaning attached to those feelings. So what story are we telling ourselves? And this is why identity matters so much. Identity determines the meaning you assign to your experiences. So again, the amount of money you make, the success that you receive, the relationships that you have, how quickly you bounce back from an obstacle, how quickly you bounce back from a health scare. all part of your identity. All part of your identity and the story that you assign to it. I've seen so many people who are diagnosed with an illness and they immediately look at it as a death sentence. But it doesn't have to be. That's where they go. And you help yourself along. Their brain helps them along. Oh, I'm dying? Great. Let me prepare myself to shut down. And it goes through the not eating, and it goes through the sleeping, and it goes through the extra dopamine so that you feel good as you peacefully cross over. And then somebody else is going to be like, well, this is not a death sentence. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to win. And that can improve your situation tenfold. So what meaning are you assigning to your experiences? Because the meaning you assign to your experiences shapes the decisions you make next. So I want to bring in manifestation for a second, okay? A lot of people get frustrated with manifestation. Like, there's no secret, manifestation works. We are all master manifestors. The life that we are living right now, we have created it. We manifested it based on our thoughts, our identity, our beliefs. Things that we were doing months and years ago have brought us to this moment right here, which also means that our thoughts, our identity, our beliefs, and all of the things that we're doing right now can bring us to the moment that we want to be in down the line. Okay? So we are master manifestors. And people get frustrated because they're manifesting things that they don't want. You know that, right? Manifesting things that they don't want. They're following all the steps. They're doing all the things. They have created their vision boards and they're saying their affirmations and they're journaling in their books. They're writing about their goals and they're meditating and they're praying and they wonder why their reality hasn't changed yet. Those things are good to do. But your situation hasn't changed, your reality hasn't changed because you're trying to create a future that your identity hasn't accepted yet. You're trying to create a future, a reality that your identity has not accepted yet. So your nervous system is like, I'm dysregulated. Your brain is like, I don't want to think about it. We're not going for this. It's not going to work. I don't believe it's going to happen. Okay? Think about that. Think about whatever it is you've been trying to manifest in your life, whatever situation you've been trying to live through in your life. Does the person you are fall into alignment with your desires? If someone secretly sees themselves as unworthy, they're going to struggle to receive abundance. And I already told you, abundance does not have to be created. It's already there. But if you're always thinking, I'm not worthy, what kind of abundance are you going to get? If they secretly see themselves as overlooked or passed over or taken for granted or ignored, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle to recognize all of the opportunities that are around them. And if that person sees themselves as unsuccessful because they've tried this and it didn't work, and then they tried that opportunity and it didn't work, and every time they put their mind to something, it just fizzles away, they're going to be able to explain away every success that they experience. So even if you have a little experience, a little success, you're going to explain it away. And it's not that you're trying to sabotage yourself. It's because the human mind is always trying to remain consistent with the identity it believes is true. Okay? This is why a person can receive a compliment. This is a big test. This is why a person can receive a compliment and immediately dismiss it. Like, how many times has somebody complimented you on your outfit? Oh, you look so good today. Oh, I love that color on you. That outfit looks so good. Look at those pants. They are hugging. Look at that dress. You look so beautiful in that dress. That color, whatever it is. and you immediately go into, oh, well, I've had this forever. Excuse me, what? Instead of saying thank you and receiving the compliment, you block somebody's blessing. Because somebody gets blessed every time they try to bless you, and you're blocking that. You're blocking it because you cannot receive it. Something as small as a compliment. And then somebody says, wow, you did an incredible job. You performed well. You did really great at that speaking convention, whatever it was, okay? You did an incredible job. And you respond with, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. Why? Why? Because the compliment doesn't match your identity. That's why. It doesn't match your identity. It's trying to land on a surface that it's not prepared to receive. Does that make sense? Of course it makes sense. But do you get it? Like, who do you know personally that has a hard time accepting praise? That was me once upon a time. For years. And I did not correlate my inability to accept praise, my inability to accept a compliment, with my lack. If I wanted to receive millions of dollars in my lifetime, and I don't have the capacity to hold and receive something as small as a compliment, I don't have the identity to hold that wealth. I had to change who I believed I was. I had to change my thoughts about myself, okay? So who do you know who struggles receiving help or receiving support or money? Or money. Who do you know who struggles to receive opportunities? Because there's opportunities everywhere. Everywhere. Usually the issue isn't the receiving. The issue, once again, is you, your identity. The outfit that you're wearing, that is your identity. Take it off and put on another one. Okay? The opportunities and the blessings and the support will arrive. It's there. It's there. But internally, on the inside, there's still a voice that says when those things arrive, I don't really think that's something for me. I don't think that's for someone like me. I don't think I'm deserving of that. Did you mean for them? Right? And so a person who's trained themselves to, when they understand that receiving is actually a skill, and it's a skill that can be taught, and it's a skill that can be refined, but it is a skill. They understand that abundance is not something reserved for a few, not for a select few anyway. It's for everyone. There's abundance everywhere in every part of your life. Some people are seeing the abundance of bills and the things that could go wrong, and some people are seeing the abundance of love and success and wealth that's available to them. Okay? They're recognizing that opportunities are not distributed based on worthiness. A winner knows that. They're often recognized by the people who are available to see them. Those opportunities are recognized by people who are available to receive them. You have to make yourself available to receive them, to see them. And so this is a shift that I want you to make today. If you come away with nothing except for this by the end of today, this is important. You need to stop asking yourself, how do I become successful? Cut it out, because the how is not important. Okay? Nothing's wrong with wanting success. You will be successful. But the how in itself is not important. Instead, I want you to ask yourself, who is the version of me that naturally creates success? Okay? Who is the version of me that naturally creates success? That is a very different question, wouldn't you say? A very, very, very different question. Because we're no longer solely focused on the actions, like the how, okay? We're then focused on the identity and the standards and the beliefs and our self-concept and our internal foundation, who we are on the inside that produces the results on the outside, okay? So when you study people who consistently win, you're gonna notice something. Oh my gosh, you're going to notice something. And maybe you haven't been aware of this before, okay? Maybe you didn't notice this before, but now you're starting to get it. They don't spend all day arguing for their limitations. Well, I can't have this because, or I didn't get this job because, or she turned me down because, or I didn't make this money because I was not enough. I was late to the party. Like, they don't do that. They don't argue for their limitations, okay? They don't constantly rehearse stories about why things cannot work. Some people do that all the time. That is their ministry. That is their identity. My life doesn't work out for me. Let me tell you how bad it is. And they stand at the water cooler at the office and they just compare whose life is the worst instead of whose life is the best. You know? They don't make their past more important, the most important thing about them. They don't make their trauma the most important thing about them. And a lot of people have experienced trauma. And I encourage them to connect with someone who can help you grow and not be held down by your trauma. Because trauma lives in the body, by the way. Okay? They don't make that the most important thing about them. Your worst day does not define you. People who win, they carry themselves as someone who expects growth or someone who expects solutions and progress. And so over time, the expectation then influences the conversations that they have. Because you can't be a person who expects to win and gossip all the time and have these negative Nancy conversations. No. And it's going to influence the opportunities that they have. All of a sudden, people are just going to be like, hey, I think you should do this. It's great. Oh, hey, here's this casting. Go ahead and do this casting. You know, you'd be great for this. It influences the risks or the chances that they take. I don't like the word risk, but still, the risks or the chances that they take. It influences the people that they surround themselves with. You're not going to want to just be around anybody anymore. You're going to be very intentional with your time and with your peace. And it's going to influence the possibilities that they entertain. Okay? This is why winning happens long before you see the trophy, long before you see the award, long before you see the promotion or the money or before the manifestation arrives. It happens long before that. Winning begins the moment you decide that your future will no longer be dictated by the version of you that was created through the conditioning. So we were all conditioned and we live as a person, a version of ourselves based on these conditioning. And we're just going to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to let this conditioning run my life anymore. I'm going to decide that who I am now, because you are under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago. So who I am now will no longer be dictated by the version of me who accepted those or that created those conditions. No, done. Because the truth is, you can't consistently outperform your identity, the one that you're committed to anyway. And you can choose a new identity and commit to it. You embody it and you live by that. But eventually, your results will find a way to mirror what you believe about yourself. And so your reality is a mirror of what you believe about yourself, the things you say about yourself, the things you don't say out loud, the things you think about yourself. Your reality is a mirror of that. It is. Which means that if you want a different life or a different level of abundance or a different experience of success, I think that there's a question worth asking. It's, who have I been believing myself to be? Think that through. Who have I been believing myself to be? And more importantly, who am I ready to become? That is the question. A good question. Because once your identity changes, friend, everything begins to reorganize itself around you, around that new identity. It does. Everything. And that's exactly why the habits of winners look different than the habits of everyone else. So I want to talk about that next, okay? We're going to talk about the habits. I have 5 or 6 habits of winners that I believe you need to know, and I want you to be aware of them. If you don't employ any of these habits, you're going to want to start that soon, okay? When we think about winners, when people think about winners in general, they often think about the things that we can see, the visible things, the money and the success and the confidence and the opportunities and the lifestyle, like the things that we can see, that our senses allow us to understand. But what they don't see are the habits that are operating beneath the surface, okay? Winning is rarely, just so you understand, rarely created by one massive event. Yes, you can win the lottery, and yes, you can be hit by a car and get a payout. And yes, there could be, like, you were chosen for a scholarship. Yes, those things happen. Those things do happen, right? But winning is rarely created by like one massive moment. Winning is usually the result of small habits practiced consistently over time. And since they're small habits that are practiced consistently over time, it's easier for you to palate, isn't it? It's more palatable for you. It's easier for you to understand, which means that it's easier for you to do and live by. And so many of these habits are so simple that people completely overlook them altogether. You're just like, no, I need the big thing. I need the big jump, the big strategy. Consistent little habits, okay? The truth is that winners are often doing things that don't look that extraordinary in the moment. Sometimes they're really just downright boring, very mundane. But over months and over years, do I want to say that? If you're trying to manifest slowly, if you want to collapse time, we'll talk about that later. But over time, those habits, right? They can compound into extraordinary results. Extraordinary results. So I want to talk about some of the hidden habits that separate winners from everyone else. So number 1, this is important. Winners recover quickly. They do. This has got to be one of the most important habits you'll ever develop. So your ability to bounce back, that snap back. Oh no, things were wrong. I can get it right. Oh no, I don't have the money to pay this bill. Don't worry, next time it'll work out real quick. You don't let things hold you down. The ability to bounce back, to recover quickly, because we know that setbacks are guaranteed. It's our human experience. We know that disappointments and rejection is guaranteed. Like it is, right? Things are not going according to plan. It's guaranteed. Inevitable in some cases. The question is, it's not whether or not it's going to happen, because we know these things are going to happen. Again, we're having a human experience, and we all will experience that at some point in our life. But the question is, how long will you stay in that place? How long will you stay there? So a person who's trained to win, they're not going to spend 6 months emotionally unpacking like one particular single obstacle, figuring it out, rehearsing it over and over again in their mind. They're not going to do that. They don't have the time. They don't build a house inside their disappointment. They don't do that. You know what they do? They feel it. They process it. They learn from it. And then they just get right back into the game. That's what has to be done. So now imagine you have been working on a business. Again, I know a lot of people who run businesses, they watch me. You've been working on a business launch, a new business for 4 months. Okay, you're almost there. You have invested so much money and so much time and so much tons of your energy, and you finally launch the offer and only 2 people buy. Only 2 people buy. And so of course you're disappointed, right? Like you had visions of something else, like anyone would be. But a person who is trained to win, they're not going to contemplate what's wrong with them as a person. No, they're going to ask, well, what can I learn from this? Was my messaging clear? Maybe it wasn't clear. Maybe the audience wasn't warm enough. Like maybe I didn't market myself enough. Maybe the offer needs to be refined a little bit. Maybe the timing just wasn't ideal for somebody to invest in my offer, right? A winner stays focused on the solutions because they know that you can't create your future while living inside your past, honey. You cannot. And some people stay so emotionally attached to one disappointment for years. One thing that happened years ago, they're still attached to it. There's a one failed relationship or one failed investment, or I tried a business and it didn't work out. So you know what, guys, don't do it. This business doesn't work. It didn't work for you. And years later, now you're on a hate train of any type of business that follows along the same strategy, path, whatever, right? That one rejection, that one mistake is keeping you right where you are, or that one embarrassing moment, you're still living there. Meanwhile, a person who's trained themselves to win, they recover quickly because they understand that life rewards participation. Yay, you participated. Let me give you some good stuff. Yay, you showed up. Let me give you some more good stuff. Because I want you to show up some more. And then I want you to feel good about it. Oh, wait a minute. I want to experience that dopamine again. Let me go look for ways that I can show up more, show up more, show up more. In a good way, not a burnout way. Show up more. I'm going to participate. And life is going to reward me. Okay? You cannot win a game you have stopped playing. You also cannot win a game you decide you're not going to win, so you decide not even to try. It's like I break up with him before he dumps me. Right? Habit number 2, winners decide quickly. So have you ever noticed that, or how much energy indecision requires? I can't make a decision. I can't figure it out. I don't know what to do. And every answer is, I don't know. And so we're clear, not making a decision is a decision. Okay? Most of the times, it's the most expensive decision a person can make, and that's to not make a decision. That's that indecision, right? People are going to spend years and weeks and days and months standing at the edge of opportunities. And what are they doing with their time? They're analyzing. They're overthinking. What if? They're researching. I'm not ready yet. They're questioning. Well, what if this goes wrong? They're waiting to feel completely certain. I know millionaires, side note, multimillionaires, centimillionaires, who they make a decision. They get into mentorship, like hire a performance coach, or they invest in something, and they'll probably have 60% of the information. 60%. They're not completely sure of everything, but they're like, you know what, this is good enough for me, let's go. And these people who are struggling to succeed, they need to know everything all the way to the end so that they can get it out before they even try. Right? Waiting to completely feel certain. And so the problem is that certainty almost never arrives first. It rarely arrives first. But you know what creates certainty? Action. Action creates certainty. So, for example, before many of my clients joined me in Unlimited, so my transformation program, it's a 6-month program. Before they joined Unlimited, right, they clearly had to make a decision because they're investing in their transformation. They're not investing in me. They're not investing in the program. They're investing in who they need to become, who they want to become, okay, their own transformation. So they had to decide very quickly, right? They could continue doing what they were doing, what they always did, and hope that things would change eventually. They would change. Or they could invest in becoming a different version of themselves. When you're a different version of yourself, you get things, the things you want. So were they scared? Yes, absolutely. Because the investment was more than they've ever invested in themselves before. They've paid tuition for their kids. They've paid tuition for themselves. They've purchased a car. They've bought a house, but they never invested in themselves. So it was nerve-wracking for them initially, right? Did they have questions? Of course. This is why we do our consult calls. This is why you have a manifestation mentor, right? But winners understand that every investment should be measured against the outcome that it has the potential to create. That's it. When you are going to invest in something, you're not looking at it from the lens of what's in my bank balance right now. Let me check right now. No, you're measuring it against the outcome that you're hoping to create. If I invest in said thing, will I get what I want? Will it get me closer to my destination? Will it connect me to whatever? Will it put me in the rooms of whatever? If the answer is yes, you invest in it. And that's a rule for all things. Okay? So if somebody told you that a $10,000 investment could realistically help you create $100,000, $500,000, or even $1 million within a year, a couple years, whatever, 3 years, 5 years, even less, would you spend all year debating that $10,000 investment? Because that's what a lot of people do. I say probably not. If you know that this $10,000 investment could realistically help you create $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, you probably wouldn't spend a lot of time going over the pros and the cons that you created in your mind, right? You would evaluate it and you would make a decision like that, because this is how quickly it takes to make a decision. Everybody else takes a long time because they're hemming and hawing and they're asking for validation, and I got to sleep on it, and I've got to can I do it? Can I not do it? What's the pros and the cons, right? No. People who are trained to win, they understand that waiting does not eliminate risk. It doesn't. Waiting simply creates a different type of risk. And it's the risk of remaining who you are. When you clearly want to have a different experience in your life. And as you know, and I say this often, there's a significant cost to waiting. When you don't pay your bill on time, what happens? You get interest, you got to pay more. If you're a student or you have a student and exams are coming up and they have an assignment and they hand in their assignment late. Every day late, I think up to 3 days, is a percentage off. And so that grade that you thought you were going to get is down here now because you waited. There's a significant cost to waiting. And so winners do not require everything to be perfect. They don't need perfect certainty at all. They don't need to be 100% sure. The people that I know, that I've seen, that I've studied, that I've coached, that I've mentored, that I work with, that see continuous success or massive success, half of the time they just go for it. They don't need to be 100% sure. It's the people that I've seen that are struggling, that don't have as much money as they want, that things are not going the way that they would like them to go on a regular basis, that are the ones who won't make the decision, who need all the information. Nothing's wrong with information, but what are you waiting for? When you have all the information, then what? Right? People who win, they just need just enough conviction to take the next step. Just enough. They trust themselves to figure it out along the way. This is where success comes from. Okay? Habit number 3, winners protect their energy. Okay? They understand that energy is a resource. It is. In fact, it's probably your most valuable resource, because your energy influences your decisions and your creativity and your confidence and your relationships and your productivity. It influences your ability to manifest what you want. It influences everything. Absolutely everything. Now, imagine you've spent the whole morning, today, yesterday, tomorrow, whatever, feeling really inspired. Okay? You're feeling really inspired. You're so excited about your goals. You wrote them down. Write your goals down. You wrote them down. You reviewed them. You're feeling good, feeling great, right? Maybe you're working on a new project. You have some momentum. Okay, imagine that. And then you spend 2 hours on the phone with somebody who just complains about every damn thing. Okay? For them, every solution has a problem. Every opportunity has a reason it will not work. Every conversation drains you. And by the end of the call, how do you think you feel? How do you think you feel? Most people don't realize just how much their environment affects them. But people who win do. They recognize that. They get it. And that's why they're so intentional about what they consume, what they take in, what they listen to, how they spend their time, who they spend their time with, the conversations that they entertain. When I started working on myself and started working on an identity shift, all of a sudden, the person who used to be involved in tell me the tea, in the conversation, in the gossiping, I was completely uninterested in that. It was going to affect myself and my energy. I didn't want that, right? And so this doesn't mean you're unkind because you're intentional with your time and with what you consume. It just means that you understand that protecting your energy allows for you to show up powerfully in every area of your life. And you need to show up powerfully in every area of your life. They know that, winners know that if you consistently and constantly, if they're constantly drained, eventually they're going to have nothing left to give. And then what? Habit number 4, winners pay attention. Winners pay attention. Winners pay attention. That is the 4th habit, okay? This is, I think, one of the most underrated habits of all. Underrated because winners pay attention. They pay attention to so many things. They pay attention to details, and they pay attention to patterns, and they pay attention to thoughts and results. They pay attention to what works and what doesn't. And in many cases, winners pay for attention. Like literally pay for attention, right? Now imagine somebody says they want to lose weight. We live in a time where up and down, our bodies fluctuate. It's just what it is. So if someone wants to lose weight and they've been doing whatever they're doing, wanting to lose weight, and 6 months later, there are not many changes, okay? Let's say nothing has changed. Somebody who wins is not going to say, well, okay, well, this isn't working, right? A winner is going to start paying attention. They're going to pay attention to, well, how often am I exercising? What am I eating? Because it's more important what you put in your body than what you do with your body. What happens when I get stressed? They're going to pay attention to that. What habits keep showing up? Am I ill? Is my gut health working the way it needs to work? What am I overlooking? So they're going to ask those questions because awareness creates improvement. And this extends far beyond health. Far beyond health. Winners notice shifts in the market, right? They notice opportunities. They notice your body language. They notice trends. They notice when their own thinking becomes negative. And you got to catch that because we're not going to be positive all the time, okay? Because what you fail to notice eventually begins controlling you. I repeat, what you fail to notice eventually begins controlling you. So the people who consistently win, they're often the people who observe what other people are ignoring. Okay? So what are you paying attention to? Do you notice those things too that I went over? If not, now's a really good time to start shifting your focus. Okay? Habit number 5. Winners finish things. They go to completion. So this habit alone can change your whole life if you allow it to. I'll say wholeheartedly that this was one of the toughest habits that I needed to develop. It was tough. It was tough. It was tough. Oh Lord, it was tough. People will start things, but very few people will finish. Okay? You're going to start your book and then you get bored. You're going to start a business and it doesn't bring in as much money as you wanted to right away, so you start another business. You're going to start a diet, but then somebody brings around that cheesy pizza. And then you're going to start projects and whatever. And you're going to start a course, and then you're going to start your goals. And then somewhere along the way, they just stop. They just stop. And it's got nothing to do with how capable you are, because we know you're capable. It's because finishing requires commitment after the excitement fades. So you know when that idea comes to you and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so great, I'm going to do it, and we're going for it, and you're working on all the things, and then you've been working on it, and again, it's mundane and it's boring, but you've got to do those things. It's not exciting anymore. It's not a sexy feeling anymore. I don't feel like it. You know what? I'm just going to take a rest today. I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow comes. You know what? I'll just do double 3 days from now. You know what? A week has passed. A month has passed. 2 years have passed. The excitement has faded. Finishing requires commitment after the excitement fades. And so a person who wins, they understand that motivation comes and goes. It's fleeting. I tell my clients, I tell my child, do not worry about motivation. You don't need to be motivated. You need to be disciplined. Because motivation comes and goes. Sometimes you're not going to be motivated to go work out. Sometimes you're not going to be motivated to get online and talk to whoever you need to talk to, or reach out for a follow-up, or request a consult call, or send the RFP, make your proposal. Sometimes you're not going to be motivated to do so, but you've got to be disciplined to do so, right? So a person who wins consistently, they also understand that commitment stays, but you've got to teach it to stay. So imagine somebody was buying a course, right? They buy a course, and I think that this particular course would probably genuinely improve their lives, right? As it always is, they're excited the very first week. Yes. And they're inspired the second week. I can't believe I'm doing this. This is great. And they're distracted by the third week. And 6 months later, they've only completed about 20% of this course. The information is not the issue, okay? The lack of completion is clearly the issue. So the ones who finish, the ones who win, they finish because they understand that unfinished goals don't have results. Can't get what you want if you don't go. That's why I always say we persist until what? Until it's done. Persist until. No matter how long it takes. Persist until. Okay? Number 6. Winners keep promises to themselves. Okay? This is probably going to be one of the most important habits on this entire list of 6 habits that I've talked to you about. Because every promise that you keep strengthens self-trust. It does. And every promise that you break, it weakens your self-trust. So let that sit for a moment, okay? Really think about that. How many times are you keeping your promises to yourself? How many times are you breaking the promises that you made? Every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it, you're teaching yourself that your word does not matter. That's what you're teaching yourself. Now, imagine the opposite, right? Imagine telling yourself you're going to wake up 30 minutes earlier, right? And you do it. Oh my gosh, and you do it. Imagine you commit to a workout and you do it. And you do it. Imagine you decide that you're going to read 10 pages a day. 10 pages a day. And then what? You read them, you follow through, you do it. Little by little, something begins to change within you. Isn't that cool? You start trusting yourself. You've built a new muscle. You've built a new habit. But self-trust is so important. And then your confidence grows. And then your certainty grows. And your beliefs grow. And it's got nothing to do with somebody motivating you or you being motivated to do it at all. It's because you've demonstrated to yourself that you can rely on your own word. To God be the glory. To God be the glory. And that is so damn powerful. It is. It is so damn powerful. Because winners don't build confidence, friend. They don't build confidence through affirmations by themselves. They build confidence through evidence, through the results. So evidence that they follow through, evidence that they finish, evidence that they show up, evidence that they can trust themselves. And so when you combine all of these habits together, you stop waiting for winning. You've got all these habits. You're not going to wait for winning. You're going to start becoming the kind of person for whom winning becomes natural. You go out to make the winning happen. You show up. You put yourself out there. Instead of staying home all the time, all of a sudden you're at a networking event. We outside. Right? Winning isn't just one big moment. It's not. It's a collection of habits and decisions and standards and beliefs that are repeated consistently over time. And so when those habits become a part of your identity, success stops feeling like something you have to experience on occasion. Right? It becomes something that you expect. Which brings us to the next piece of the puzzle. And that's the awareness advantage. That's what I like to call it. The awareness advantage. Because people who consistently are seeing, people who win are consistently seeing things that other people miss. Because you're like, well, what do they know that I don't know? What are they seeing that I don't see, right? And so as we begin wrapping up day one, because we're about to wrap, I want to talk to you about this thing that has that complete power to change your life. In fact, if you master this one thing, every other lesson that we've discussed today becomes easier. It becomes easier. So we were building and we are at this moment now, okay? That thing is awareness. It's awareness. And I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I really want to hammer this home because it's so vital to your success. Most people underestimate the role that awareness plays in their own success, right? They think that success comes from knowledge, it comes from talent, it comes from what you do and what you don't do. They think it comes from luck. And while all those things do play a role, or they can play a role, awareness is usually just the hidden factor. It's usually the hidden factor that determines what recognizes or who recognizes opportunities and who misses them. So again, awareness is usually the hidden factor that determines who recognizes opportunities and who misses them. Because you can't change what you're not aware of. Right? You can't improve what you're unwilling to examine. You can't just say I'm going to be better and not practice being better and see why you're not as great as you want to be just yet. You can't create different results while remaining completely unconscious, okay, to the patterns that create your current ones. You can't. Awareness is where your transformation begins. It is. So think about it, right? The moment you become aware of a limiting belief, what do you think happens? What do you think happens? I'll tell you. You then gain the power to change it. So good. Similarly, the moment you become aware of a habit, you gain the power to change it. So the limiting belief, you gain the power to challenge it. With the habit, you gain the power to change it. That's what I wanted to say. And of course, the moment you become aware of a pattern, you gain the power to interrupt it. So we don't need these patterns that are not allowing us to do what we need to do. And this is the case for a lot of people, because before awareness, you're simply just reacting to life. But after awareness, you're making choices. You're choosing. And so winners are incredibly aware. Incredibly aware. They are aware of their thoughts and their emotions and their environment. They are aware of their habits and their results. They are paying attention. And so while other people, they go through life on autopilot. Most people go through life on autopilot. Every day they wake up. They repeat the same patterns. They repeat the same thoughts. They repeat the same routines. They repeat the same emotional patterns. They repeat the same reactions. It's the same thing all the time. They put their clothes on the same way. They brush their teeth the same way. They eat the same thing every day. They're repeating. And they wonder why their lives are not changing. But winners understand that awareness is the doorway to transformation. It is. They're not going to simply just ask, what's happening? They're going to ask, why is this happening? What's going on here? And more importantly, they're going to ask, what is this trying to teach me? Like, what is the lesson here? I need to know. I need to understand so I can get it and then do something different. One of the greatest gifts you can develop is the ability to observe yourself, not judge yourself. Just observe yourself. Okay? There is a difference. You know way too many people that spend their lives criticizing themselves. That's not awareness. That is self-judgment. Awareness doesn't sound like that. Awareness says, okay, that's interesting. Why did I react that way? Why did that trigger me? Right? Awareness is going to ask, why do I keep doing those things over and over again? Right? Why do I keep attracting the same experience or the same partner or this level of wealth? Why can't I proceed? Why can't I get more? Those questions create growth because awareness creates curiosity, and curiosity creates transformation. There's no one who transforms if they don't want to know what's next, if they're not a little curious, right? And when you begin observing yourself honestly, you'll start noticing things you never noticed before, honey. You're going to notice how often you talk yourself out of opportunities. You're going to notice how quickly you assume the worst, and most people do because of conditioning, right? You're going to notice how often you seek validation. Like, what do you think? Do you think I should do this? Is this the right thing? You're going to notice how often your fear disguises itself as logic. So, you're going to tell yourself in those moments that you're staying in situations that no longer serve you because leaving probably would not be practical, right? Sounds like logic. Sounds realistic. It sounds realistic. It sounds sensible, right? But if you dig a little bit deeper, just a little bit deeper, you're going to find out that you're actually afraid of the unknown more than you're unhappy with your current circumstances. That's why you're not leaving the situations that no longer serve you. And then you're going to notice how often old stories are influencing your present day situations or your present day decisions. So you haven't eaten avocados since you were 6 years old, okay? Because you didn't like the texture. And now you are a 40-year-old hardback woman, hardback man, right? And you say, I don't like avocados today. How would you know? How do you know? You haven't had avocados since you were 6 years old. That is an old story that you told yourself, and you're still living by it. Do you know how good guacamole is? You're missing out. And that awareness is powerful, okay? Because so many people believe that they're responding to reality when they're actually responding to old programming. I told you this already. Okay? They're responding to beliefs that they've adopted years ago, beliefs that weren't consciously theirs, or beliefs that they didn't consciously choose. But they never question those beliefs either. Not once. When's the last time you questioned your beliefs? One of the things that I teach my clients is that awareness gives you access to choice. It does. Without awareness, your patterns control you. With awareness, you begin controlling your patterns. And that is where the real power lives. It's a good place to be. So now let's take this to another level, or talk about another level, okay, of awareness that winners develop. Winners are aware of their environment. They understand that environments shape their outcomes. They understand that what they repeatedly expose themselves to eventually influences their thinking. And again, this is why winners are intentional about what they let in. You have to be. So the conversations that they engage in, or the content that they're watching, or the people that they're spending time with, the information that feeds their mind, eventually your environment will begin influencing your expectations, what you expect for yourself and for others and from others. And we know that now your expectations begin influencing your results. We know that, right? And this is one of the reasons why transformation often speeds up when people join communities like Unlimited, okay? They're no longer surrounded by people explaining why things don't work. They're surrounded by people who are expanding their thinking, people who are raising their standards, and people who are creating results. They're not waiting for results. They're around people who are creating results, people who are challenging the limitations that they've been living by and living with their entire lives. And so when your environment changes, your awareness expands. Do you see how cyclical this is? Do you get it? And so you begin seeing possibilities that you couldn't see before. Oh my gosh, winners are also so aware of their emotional state. This is huge. There's so many emotionally chaotic people walking around, and they have no idea that they're emotionally chaotic, emotionally unavailable, just emotional, okay? People allow emotions to drive their lives without ever questioning them, ever. So they wake up feeling discouraged and they immediately think that they're gonna have a bad day. What? They feel fear and assume that whatever they're doing, they better stop, right? They shouldn't proceed. Like they shouldn't hit the send button. They feel uncertain. They feel uncertainty, so they assume that they're making a mistake. But you have to understand something. Emotions are just information. They are. They're information that your body is like trying to cope with, trying to tell you something. Doubt doesn't automatically mean that you should quit, okay? Discomfort doesn't automatically mean that you're on the wrong path. No, sometimes discomfort means that you're growing. If it's not something that you've ever done before and you're doing it now, you're growing. Does it make sense? Does it compute? Right? Sometimes fear means you're expanding. I'm scared of what I don't know, but I'm going to do it anyway. What do they say? Feel the fear and do it anyway. It's the only way for you to grow and expand. Sometimes uncertainty means you're entering a territory that you've never experienced before. That's good. That is good. Awareness allows you to recognize the difference, friend. It does. Now let's connect this to manifestation and then we'll go. Because this is where a lot of people miss the big picture. Manifestation isn't only about what you're thinking. It's also about what you're noticing. It's about what you're available to receive. And it's about what you're willing to recognize. Willing to recognize. Some people pray for opportunities and they're ignoring opportunities when it arrives. They ignore every opportunity that comes, but you're praying for an opportunity. It's like, I want an opportunity. Okay, here's an opportunity. No, not that one. Right? Some people ask for abundance while they're focused exclusively on lack. Exclusively on lack. Oh, I need some more money. I want some more money. I'd love to have some more money. It would be great to have some more money. I need $50,000. I want $50,000. I can't pay my bills. If I have this money, people are just going to have their hands out. Everybody's got their cups, but they ain't chipped in. Exclusively on lack. Doesn't align, does it? It's like this. Some people are asking for guidance while they're dismissing every intuitive nudge that comes their way. Intuition is a higher faculty, by the way. It is. Someone's trying to reach you. Someone's trying to reach you and you just dismiss it. Awareness allows you to recognize the answers you have been asking for. You got to be aware. So listen, sometimes manifestations don't arrive as fireworks, right? They arrive as an idea, a little light bulb, right? Like a conversation or a book or a mentor. Sometimes manifestations arrive as a relationship or an introduction to something or someone or someplace. Sometimes it's an aha moment. Ah, yeah. A door that didn't exist 6 months ago, right? The question is, will you notice it? Will you notice it? Because opportunities often arrive very, very quietly. They're not like banging on the door trying to get your attention. They come quietly. And winners are paying attention. They're noticing. They're noticing. They're not forcing life. They're participating with life. And remember, you get rewarded for participation. They are noticing. They are aware. They are listening and observing and responding. This is why awareness is such a powerful advantage. It's so powerful. The more you become aware, or the more aware you become, the more opportunities recognize you and you recognize those opportunities. The more opportunities you recognize, the more empowered your decisions become. See? The more empowered your decisions become, the more your life begins to change. It's all connected. And so this is what I want to leave you with today, okay? Winning is not something that suddenly happens just on a particular day, just one day, out of the blue. Okay, that's not what happens. It's not a lucky break or a magical moment. It's not that. Winning begins the moment you wake up to who you have been, the beliefs you've been carrying and the stories you've been repeating, the habits that you've been practicing, the standards you've been accepting, the opportunities that you've been overlooking. Awareness shines a light on all of those. It's like a spotlight on all of it, okay? And once you see it, you can change it if you so desire. That's why awareness is one of the greatest gifts you can develop, because awareness creates choice, and choice creates change, and change creates results. And we want results, right? So today, we've talked about what it means to have been born to win, right? We talked about that, what it means to be born to win. You were born to win. You were created, you were designed to win. We've talked about conditioning. We've talked about identity. We've talked about the hidden habits of winners, right? We've talked about awareness. These things are so important. I want you tonight to just notice what's going on around you. Be aware of the things that you're paying attention to, the things that you're not allowing into your life. Be aware of how you think. Be aware of, if somebody presents you with an opportunity, the immediate feeling that pops up. Be aware of the conversations, the quality of conversations that you're having. Be aware if you're allowing yourself to have income producing activities versus income producing activities, like just scrolling, redoing your website instead of making the calls and talking to somebody. Notice your habits. Notice all of that. Okay? Tomorrow we're going next level. I'm really excited about that. We're going to talk about how winners think and how they handle obstacles. So tomorrow's the how. We're going to talk about how they create success on repeat. Okay? How they activate the, what I like to call their winning season. You know? We all have a winning season. How they activate that. Because winning isn't reserved for just a lucky few, my friend. No. Winning is available to the people who are willing to become aware enough to step into the person they were designed to be. And you now know who you were designed to be. Are you going to step into that? That's what winners do. Okay? And so I hope you've started that today. I hope you've started remembering who you are, remembering exactly who that person was. Today was about a remembering, to awaken you to what's always been there. You don't need a special strategy. We needed to work on the inside so that we can see what we want to see on the outside. Okay? I will see you tomorrow, same time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. And just notice, okay? So, with a grateful heart, I'm Shani Leatham. See you tomorrow.